Introducing Passport Bros, your ultimate travel companion. Download the app for free and embark on a journey where your adventures not only become unforgettable memories, but also opportunities to earn. With Passport Bros, your travel content is more than just photos and videos. It's your ticket to a fully monetizable network of like-minded adventurers. Imagine making money from your travel stories. Post videos, share your experiences, and let the world be a part of your journey. But that's not all. Connect with travelers from around the globe, join co-ed groups, and make lasting friendships, perhaps even with foreign women who share your passion for exploration. And here's the best part. Store your earnings securely in your Passport Bros wallet. No hassle, no worries. Just seamless transactions wherever your travels take you. Looking for the best local experiences? Passport Bros has got you covered. Get personalized recommendations for tour guides, rentals, and the hottest clubs in town. Did we mention the app is absolutely free to download? That's right. Your passport to a world of adventure is just a click away. And here's the cherry on top. With Passport Bros, you can make money while exploring new places. Turn your passion for travel into a source of income, right from your mobile device. So what are you waiting for? Download Passport Bros now, share your journey, connect with fellow explorers, and let the adventure begin.
Download now on the App Store and Google Play.
All right, family, we are live. We got a hell of a show for you guys today, man. My man Scholar kind of set the Passport Bro community on fire with his last video, and I got my man JayFocused in the building. I'm about to bring him on right now to kind of do a light, friendly response about his experience in Africa versus some of Scholar's. All right, now Scholar wants to come and pull up. He's welcome to pull up too, but this is going to be a good informational, somewhat response to his video, because we know we got a lot of Passport Bros that are kind of wondering which countries where they can kind of find genuine relationships at in 2024. All right, so let me go ahead and bring on my man.
Yo,
the building.
Let's go. It's the world traveling, grandstanding, money making, girlfriend taking, captain of the game, your favorite uncle, the incomparable JayFocused. Let's go.
Let's get it, man. Let's get it. Well, that's good, brother. All right, man. So I'm gonna go ahead. Matter of fact, you just introduce yourself. I'm gonna go ahead and play some of Scholar's video. Shout out to my man Scholar. And if you want to do some responses to it, we're also gonna play your video later on in the show, too. But I just start off real quick with the video. All right.
Let's go.
All right, let's get it.
All right, we got to get the fire started early. We got to get cooking early. So number one, the number one reason, one of the reasons is the variety of women. All right, so listen to me.
Just tell me whenever you want me to stop it too, by the way, Jay.
Okay, all right. So we got to address that one. I just dropped my video. If you guys haven't seen it already, he's going to play some clips from it, but you really want to digest the whole thing to get the context, how I break things down. But on the variety of the women, that's where he really loses me. And anyone who's really traveled and knows African women will say, like, what are you talking about, bro? You got Somalian women, you got Ethiopian women, you got South African women who are exotic, like Tyla or similar. You got mixes from pretty much anything you could think of. You got Middle Eastern women in Africa. You got Moroccans, you got Egyptians. I mean, we could just go down the list. Africa is 54 countries. Brazil is one country. Brazil is like 200 million, give or take. Africa is over 1 billion people, right? So just right there, I mean, it destroys his logic. And the more you dig, just the more that it unravels and unravels. So we could play some more.
Okay, and before we play it, how many countries have you been to in Africa and how long was you there?
So I spent the last 14 months uninterrupted on the African continent. And if you haven't subscribed to my channel, you should check it out. I show pretty much every country that I've been to. And I still got some more countries I got to show you guys. The latest video I dropped was from Senegal. And I came to Senegal from Nairobi. Now, Kenya's East Africa. Senegal's West Africa, right?
Right.
The looks are completely different. Anybody who tells you that they can't tell the difference, that there's no variety, just those two countries, vastly different. Namibia to Egypt, vastly different. South Africa to Morocco, completely different. I mean, I don't even have to go to Congo, to Sudan, you know, some of the tallest people on earth. I mean, we could go on and on and on. It's just so much in Africa. I've seen 20 countries, so that's about 1/3 of the continent. I still got many more to see, but just out of that 20, I got a very good scope of what the women look like all throughout the continent. Now, Brazil, I've been to Brazil. I've been from the north of Brazil, Salvador, all the way down to the south, Florianopolis, where all the European, Germans, blondes are at. And he's right. There are some mixes that exist in Brazil. Like if you want a Pocahontas, Apocalypto type chick with the red face paint, you know, living in a hut, that doesn't exist in Africa. But pretty much everything else, you can find it somewhere on the continent. So that argument to me just doesn't hold water.
Okay. Okay.
Me guys, I know. I'm sorry if the camera keeps moving around. I know that Africa has some attractive women, and I'm going to show you one here. Okay, so we're looking at a baddie over here. Okay, in my opinion, this is a certified dime piece. Okay, she lives.
Okay, we can stop. We can stop right there. We can stop right there. Okay.
Perfect place to
So,
stop.
yeah. So that's a good screenshot, right? So he admitted that there's good-looking women in Africa, right? So I can't call him, you know, somebody who doesn't like Black women. I won't say that, right? I won't say it. But some other people have been saying that. But he did give props. He said, you know, this is a woman he would like. He would take her down. But it seems like he's coming from a place where he's like, I don't think I could actually get that woman if I pull up because she's super duper rare. Now, many brothers who are watching this right now, who've been to South Africa, who've been around the continent, know that this woman is not some 1 in a billion or something like that. Now, every single woman doesn't look like this, but to think that you're going to pull up there and you got some game, you know what you're doing, and you can't pull her, I don't think that's true. I think there's so many brothers who take their second, third, fourth trip to the continent would not be going back if they weren't getting what they wanted. You understand me? And it's the same with anywhere. You know, brothers who go to DR, they keep going back because they're able to get what they want. It's no different when it comes to Africa. If brothers were not having a good time, they would just go there once and then they would, you know, they would blow up over social media or whatever, saying that, you know, they treated me bad. I didn't get this. I didn't get that. I haven't seen those videos. Where are those videos at? If brothers are pulling up and they just taking L's all over the continent, I've never seen that video. I've never heard that narrative because I want to speak not just from my experience, because, you know, if there are brothers having that experience where they're pulling up to Africa and they're not able to get anything, I don't think we wouldn't have heard about it. You feel me?
Okay. And let me get super chat real quick by Kirby P Films. He's also a member with the 5 super chat, the first super chat of the night. Man, I really appreciate that. My man always showing support. Shout out to you. Just what up, BMT? In 2025, I'm going to make plans to go to Africa, maybe South Africa, but Brazil is my top number 1. Now, JayFocused, I'm just going to play devil's advocate a little bit. Most Americans, especially Black Americans, we have this one phenotype in our head of how most Africans look. Right? I'm not saying this I'm saying it's separate from what Scholar is saying. Now, you've been in the continent, but for most of us, we assume that the women look fairly pretty much like, you know, the dark-skinned Nigerian, Congolese look all around the continent. I mean, we all Black here, you know, because we a variety of mixtures in Black America because of the admission we have for over a couple hundred years. But, you know, that's what guys are thinking. And I think this is what the narrative that Scholars, I'm not putting the words in Scholar's mouth, but, you know, you've been to Africa. Like, is that the majority of the look, though? Like, is that the majority of the look? Not to say it looks bad or anything, but if that's
Sure. I know what you're saying. You're saying more of the what's her name, Lupita Nyong'o, like her, right?
Right. Because that's
Yeah,
what we
you know,
that's
she's
what
a
we
beautiful
see in
woman, right?
America for the most part.
Yeah, exactly. She's a
Right.
beautiful woman. She's kind of like in our head when we think of a stereotypical African woman. She's the first thing that comes to mind, right?
Scholars in the chat, by the way.
Oh, okay. That's what's up. Welcome to the chat, man.
Right.
Yeah, I would agree that that is the stereotype in America that we have of the continent, that the whole continent, they look like her. And nothing could be further from the truth. Rwanda in particular, they have a unique look. Everybody knows about Ethiopian women, whether they live in DC, New York, you know, LA, certain communities all over the country. They know there are some very attractive women, all kinds of hair textures, you know, wavy to straight all the way. And these are Black women. These are not women who, oh, her dad is Italian or her dad is German or something. No, these are born and bred from the soil, African, sub-Saharan Black women who look exotic, you know. And that's without going into
Are
South
there
Africa.
any women
Okay.
in Africa that can kind of mirror the way Black women in America look? Like they could be our sisters and brothers?
Absolutely. My God,
Okay.
man. South Africa all day long, man. Think of Tyler, the singer, right?
Mhm.
You know, she could be Creole or she could be any kind of mulatto chick in the States that we have. Cape Town is full of women that look like that. There's Namibia, there's Botswana on some level. There's a community there that is also indigenous, but they're of a lighter complexion. Their hair texture is a little bit different. Features are completely different. One has to think that everyone on planet Earth came out of Africa. So every kind of nose, whether it's a narrow nose, a wide nose, all of that had to exist already in the continent to various levels, right? Some of it is more predominant, and then some of it is less dominant. So you've got big lips, you got thin lips, you got all kind of things that you can imagine as far as beauty somewhere in Africa. You feel me? Okay. Does he want to come on? He wants to rebut it?
I mean, I'll drop a link if Skylar wants to come on. Let me drop a link real quick if Skylar wants to prepare it and come on. But we will continue with his video as well because I definitely want you to break it down.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, how say somebody got y'all. Sure. I want to give a shout out to my man Marquise Hill with $1.99 super chat. Man, I really appreciate that. His Africa will be my sixth continent I will go to. All right, let's continue with this video.
South Africa. Okay, her body is ridiculous. Okay, this is what we call an automatic skeet session. This is without any question. Like,
there we go.
I'm gonna be like, it's non-existent. Okay, we're just gonna have some children in South Africa. That's how it's going down. But this is a certified baddie. Okay, now here's the issue though. All of the YouTubers who go to Africa, I am not seeing anyone pull anyone near this level.
JayFocused. I don't know.
If okay. So I addressed this in the video that I just did. I really broke it down. So basically, you've got, let's say 100 to 1. You've got 100 brothers in our space who go to DR. 100 of them that go to Brazil. 100 of them that go to Colombia. For every one brother that goes to Africa, right? That's pretty fair, I would say. So it makes sense then that you're going to see 100 more receipts to every one receipt that you're going to get from Africa. Does that make sense? What do you think? Does that make sense, Aaron, or not? Yeah. So looking at it from that angle, I also touched upon the fact. What's that?
I'm broken out a little bit, bro. I'm gonna come back in.
Okay, for sure.
Okay, yeah. You go ahead. You gotta continue with the show though.
Okay, nah. So what I was saying was, you know, we got 100 to 1 brothers moving around Latin America versus Africa. So it's only logical that you're gonna have 100 more receipts versus the one guy who's going to Africa. That being said, Africa is a lot more traditional. You are more likely to find a girl who is marriage material, who is wife material. So everybody and their mom is not trying to put out the baddest chicks on blast like that, because a lot of chicks in Africa are not going to be so attention focused, so IG focused. You can find a girl who is a little more humble, doesn't want the spotlight, wants to play the back behind her man, especially in a place like Tanzania. And not only there, but you have a lot of girls who they come from a Muslim background in Africa. So they're not as comfortable putting their business out there to the level of a Brazil. Anybody who knows the Brazil is it's pretty much no limits. They walk around in thongs on the beach and stuff, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I'm saying Africa is not that. So with very few exceptions, like Cape Verde, which also is Portuguese influence, yeah, there they can do it. And in Angola, which on my channel, you can see me on the beaches of Angola with women, and they're wearing thongs, just like Rio. But the rest of the continent is not like that. They'll do what they do behind closed doors, but they're not all trying to be professional IG models, professional pay for play like you get in Brazil. It's not that same kind of culture. And you got to kind of wrap your head around that when you actually go there. Just looking for receipts when, like I said, there's 100 to 1 ratio of dudes going to Latin America. You're not going to see as many receipts of the best looking women. There's a lot of thirsty brothers out there too, who if you put out your main chick, your second best chick, your side chick, dudes would be hollering in the DMs trying to shoot, hey, if I come out there, can I, XYZ? And everybody's not living like that. Some of us, we don't put our dirt out like that, because real G's move in silence, man. I know y'all heard that before. So no, everything is not going to be out on Front Street on YouTube. That's what Patreon is for. That's what other things are for. That's what chat groups are for, behind the scenes, because these girls have reputations. They're closer to their families. Some of them still live at home. So you really got to look at it from that context before you could do a direct one-to-one comparison with Brazil. And guys are just really starting to scratch the surface of Africa now versus Brazil, where they were in Brazil in the 90s. They were shooting, I don't even know how I can say it. You know what I'm talking about, adult films. They were shooting adult films in Brazil in the 90s. So you really can't compare it to as far as the exposure and what the culture will tolerate as far as putting their women out there. And I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing. It just is what it is.
Okay, I got a scholar here says most brothers have bad taste in women. Okay, they aren't going after the baddies in Africa or any other country. Brazil, Africa, Colombia, they have bad taste everywhere. I mean, beauty is in the eyes of the beholder.
Yeah, I mean that's subjective, man. Yeah. That's how he feels. That's how he feels.
Because some guys like them thick and curvy, and some guys like them slim thin. Like not a
exactly, man. Your 8 might be my 6, and my 6 might be your 8, and that's anywhere in the world. That's back in the States. You feel me?
Especially if you like a newbie traveler, because when you first get to Colombia and you see a chick, you like, oh, that's a dime. But then you stay there longer, oh, that's a dime. And so my old girls really was a 7. Like here in the DR, like the girl I'm dating, I'm thinking like when I first saw her, oh man, this girl is the gorgeous girl I ever seen in my life. But then again, after a month or two, I'm like, okay,
she regular.
She about
you like she regular.
Yeah, it's better chicks everywhere. All right,
right.
Let's continue with the video.
Okay.
Be that the women of her caliber, there's a low supply. There's not a lot of them. Okay, if you
kind of discussed that you said it's not a lot of them, but you're saying that they are on average.
Yeah. If he's saying it's not a lot of them, it doesn't matter to me because I know I can get them, and I have gotten them before. So I mean, every man got to get it for himself. But honestly, I don't think it is. It's not like they're 1 in a billion or anything like that. Like anywhere on Earth, right? A 10, a 9 is not everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Unless your standard for what a 10 and a 9 is very low. But if it is where it should be, you're not going to see that every freaking where. I don't care whether you're in Brazil. I don't care where you're at on Earth. That being said, women of that caliber have been accessible to me. They've been accessible to many guys that I know. And that's really all I can say about that. Maybe if you got a peg leg and you're overweight, she's not checking for you because she got better options. But maybe that guy would do better in Brazil. I'm not going to argue that point.
Chris Blue says Eritrean women look a lot like Megan Good. They all could be sisters almost.
Okay.
They do look good,
Yeah, sure.
Look good. All right, let's continue.
You juxtapose that to Brazil, for an example, or Colombia, for an example, Bad bees are coming out of the woodwork, literally.
Skylar going in the chat. Shout out,
Do you want to successfully date women abroad? Keep in mind now, I live in Brazil and I've been living overseas.
Shout out.
Okay. I want to say something about that.
Generates you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, just real quick. I want to add on to that because he says, bad bees are coming out of the woodwork, but he's leaving out or he's not addressing the fact that a lot of these bad bees are bad bees because they came from the surgeon. You feel me? That doesn't exist in Africa. Maybe it's like 1% of the population, but for the vast majority, 99% of the time, it's all natural. It's all organic. You know what I'm saying? It's no plastic. It's no silicone in there. It's just what their mama gave them. It's from the soil. There's nothing like it. And another thing in Africa is you don't have to worry about transformers, if you know what I mean. Yeah, transformers in Colombia, they out there. And if you're lying if you say they're not. Yeah, in Brazil too. They got a transformer culture. You don't have a transformer culture in Africa. They're not playing that. So yeah, hey man, to each his own. But for me, Brazil is still a good option for brothers. I'm not saying don't go to Brazil. I'm just saying for brothers who have been there, done that, Africa makes a lot more sense. It's not for a beginner. It's more of a sophisticated traveler, somebody who's got some experience under their belt. So I will give that. I will concede that point that, if you've never been outside of the country, going straight to Africa might not be the best move. But you will not be scopolamine in Africa. You will not be deleted in Africa.
Hold on.
You will not be deleted in Africa.
Hold on.
I've never seen that story.
Go back. Say that one more time for the chat. You will not be.
You will not be scopolamine in Africa. You will not be deleted in Africa. That does not happen out here.
Okay. Now you got guys in the chat, because every time we do a show on Africa, you get all these comments and everything because guys, they have their doubts about Africa for whatever reason. But what about the HIV? Because a lot of guys in the chat saying about the HIV rate out there, and it's just uncontrollable. It's everywhere.
Okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. That's a very good point. Now about the HIV rate. The HIV rate is very high in certain countries, particularly in the South. So if we're not talking about South Africa, Southern Africa, then the HIV rates are comparable or sometimes less than even like Washington, D.C. Brothers or sisters in D.C., sisters and brothers in Atlanta. Are y'all still having sex in Atlanta and D.C.? I think so. So I don't think, we could pull it up. I don't think the rate in DC is any lower than the rate in Nairobi. I don't think the rate in Atlanta is any lower than the rate in Nairobi. Now, if we're talking Johannesburg, then yes, you actually have a point there. That being said, it's not what it was in the 1980s. Nobody is, straight because they smashed the chick. Most of the time, the people who are really contracting it, they're doing some Bati boy stuff. Or, they dealing with like a straight hardcore pro who's banging needles or something like that. And they have over-the-counter tests. So there's a test you can do. You can buy it in the drugstore, like a CVS or whatever, the equivalent in South Africa, where all you do is you spit on this thing. And I think it's 10 minutes. It'll tell you whether they have it or not. So if that's a deal breaker for you, then it is what it is. But there are definitely ways around that. And like I said, that's a Southern African problem. In Northern Africa, their rates are lower than in America, all day. I can tell you in Morocco and Egypt, their rates are lower than the States. Kenya, like I said, might be near DC. I haven't looked at it, but for sure, Ethiopia is lower than the States. So if you want to bring that into the conversation, you've got to specify where you're talking about because North Africa is not South Africa. East Africa is not South Africa.
Okay. Now I have it pulled up. I'm trying to show it, but hold on. Let me just try this one more time. Hold on. Rates. All right. Let me just pull that up real quick. Okay, you're not gonna put.
You looking at DC or you looking at
I just put up the
at
world
Nairobi?
right. I just put it up the world right now, and they
Okay.
have South Africa at number 4.
Yes, South Africa, it's not a game.
That's crazy. You better strap up, guys. You guys better strap up over there, for real.
In South Africa, for sure.
I'm trying to get this little bullshit out the way so I can show the stat. Hold on, let me see. Well, let's play a little bit of video, and I'll get back to that.
Okay.
But other channels don't. They just circle jerking over there, talking about how great Africa is without talking about the scams in Africa. Africa, generally speaking, because we're talking about all of the countries, runs rampant with scams. Now,
all right, we gotta stop it. We gotta stop. We gotta stop right there.
Okay, go ahead.
Africa runs rampant with scams. He says that based on what experience? Tell me that. He has no experience in Africa. And that's not a diss. That's just a fact.
I thought he spent some time in Africa, like some months.
He went to Djibouti, you know, which is basically a military base. There is an area outside of the military base, but it's a very small country. You have U.S. Navy, you have British Navy, you've got China, you've got, I believe, India. It's nothing but military bases. And you're not going to get a real experience there like a true African country. Like, because of all the foreign money, like it just completely changed the dynamic. And it's a very small country to begin with. So to use that as your frame of reference for the second biggest continent on Earth just doesn't make sense. It would be like somebody flying directly from Beijing, landing in Orlando at Magic Kingdom, Disneyland, and then they leave Disneyland and they say, I'm an expert on the States now. I'm going to talk about the States. Like, seriously? Are you really, like, what did you experience in basically a military base, right? So leaving that alone, leaving his credentials to speak on Africa alone, I'm going to address that. I've been to 20 African countries. I spent the last 14 months on the African continent uninterrupted. And during this time, the amount of scamming was no more than any other part of the world. I've been everywhere. I've been to Australia. I've been to Asia all over. I've been in Eastern Europe. I've been to Western Europe, Southern Europe. I've been to South America. Pretty much any major place that you name, I've probably been there before. So the most scammy part of the world that I've seen has been Eastern Europe, far more than Africa. Have I been scammed in South America before? Yes, there are plenty of scams. I mean, what's worse, being scammed or being killed? Somebody in Africa might maybe, let's say they overcharge you on a taxi. It was supposed to be $9. They charge you $11, right? Oh, wow. You know, he took $2 from me. In places like Medellin, in places,
they take your whole account.
They're gonna take your credit card. They're gonna take you to the ATM with a gun in your forehead. They're gonna, you know, put a knife to you. It's brutal. You know what I'm saying? If somebody takes $10 from me, I'm probably not gonna even miss it. Let's put that out there. But let's say they get a little bit more. Okay, that's a one and done. You learn from the scam, and then that's it. They're never gonna get you twice. You know, because we're not talking about a violent thing. We're not talking about you leaving the airport and somebody following you from the airport, like can happen in Venezuela and other parts of South America. You can't even compare them. I mean, we could pull up crime statistics on theft versus, you know, Brazil and essentially any large city, Johannesburg, and it just doesn't make sense. There's no comparison between Nairobi and Brazil when it comes to scams. You're gonna get the gringo tax. Everybody's heard of the gringo tax. If you've traveled anywhere in Latin America,
I got hit with it today. Trust me, I know.
Exactly. The gringo tax is universal. So how are you talking about in Africa, you're going to be scammed? Like, come on, this is a very weak argument. Very weak.
Okay, shout out to Suave Prince. I guess he's out there in Colombia. Shout out to you, man, with the Colombian pesos, the for a meal. Says
appreciate it.
Facts, JayFocused, salute, BMT live. All right, we got Skylar in the comment section. Skylar, you want to pull up? I'm gonna drop a link shortly. We were briefed about all the scams in the Air Force.
Okay, right? You were briefed about the scams in Djibouti. If you were being stationed in Colombia, they would have briefed you about getting killed because of scopolamine. So come on, is that the argument?
Okay. The LTS Studios for $10 super chat says, salute to BMT and JayFocused. JayFocused snapping. I'm choosing the Motherland any day.
All right, man. Standing up today. LTS Studios.
Shout out LTS Studios, man. All right, let's continue with the next one. He just pretty much spoke on different types of scams out there in Africa. Let's move on.
Tribalism. O'Shea Duke Jackson and the people who go on his channel, they talk a lot about tribalism. They talk a lot about how you have well-to-do Black people who come to Africa with good intentions. And this, I'm not saying all of Africa, and I'm not saying it happens to everyone, but it's very common, okay? They get treated like outcasts, even though they have the same lineage, the same genetic makeup. But because you are British Black or American Black and you want to go to Africa to conduct business, they're going to treat you like an outsider.
Okay, we can stop it right
talks
there.
About that. A lot of these guys.
We can stop it there. Okay, so he spoke about tribalism, right? Tribalism is a real thing. I'm not here trying to sell anybody a dream about Africa that is kumbaya, that is perfect. You're going to show up and they're going to say, welcome home when you get to the airport. I'm not telling you guys any of that. I'm being realistic. I'm giving you the good, the bad, and the ugly on every part of the world, because I don't have a dog in this fight as far as, you know, any incentive to lie to you guys. So I will tell you that tribalism is a real thing in Africa. Now, how will it affect me as a Black American tourist or a Black American long-term resident in these places? Not really, not in a major way. So I know brothers, I'm in chat groups and stuff, and just being on the ground, I know brothers who pull up to Cape Town. Nobody cares about tribalism when they're there. When they pull up to Joburg, nobody cares about tribalism. The only tribe they see you as is a Black American tribe, right? They're not trying to break it down beyond that. You know, your nationality is all they're looking at once they realize you're Black American. Same thing in Nairobi, everywhere else. Now, yes, is there a tribalism in most African countries between the locals? Absolutely. I did a video on my channel when I was in Namibia, and I interviewed a bunch of college students, and we talked about tribalism, and they all, you know, mentioned different things, and they looked at me, they said, you know, you might be from XYZ tribe or whatever. But at the end of the day, they recognized that I was Black American, and that was it. That became my tribe. Even though I might favor certain looks, it's not something that you're going to die over. You know, it's not like in Latin America, where instead of tribalism, which doesn't really exist, they have racism, they have colorism, they have classism, they got all those other isms, you know, maybe no tribalism, but because they killed all the tribes, let's not forget that part. But they have all those other isms, and showing up as a Black American, there may not be tribalism, but they're going to see colorism right away. You know, if you're on the darker side of the spectrum, you're at the bottom of the bottom. You know, there is nothing below you. Even the natives, the Native Americans in these countries, they're above you. You know, you're Black. The assumption is you're a criminal, that you live in the favela, that you're poor. Now, if you are very high yellow, if you're on the lighter side of things, in a lot of Latin American countries, you will not even be considered Black. So somebody who has scholar's complexion or lighter than that, they're not even seen as Black. Like, you would have to explain to them that you're Black. Like, it just wouldn't register them. I've talked to Dominicans before. I know this is a different country, but they told me Will Smith is white. I remember the first time I went to DR, they said Will Smith is white. I said, what? But you have to realize they have a colorism lens, and in the States we have a Black-white lens. You know, we don't divide so much. You know, me, you, Tyler, somebody as dark as Kevin Hart, we're just all Black in the States. We all N-words to people who don't like us.
And you know what? I don't mean to interrupt you. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was thinking about this today, right? Because I've been in DR for quite some time now, like maybe 6-7 months. And I thought to myself, I said, damn, the Spanish colonization was actually more detrimental and worked better than the hard, oppressive colonization that we faced in America. Because in America, they drew a line so hard They said, hey, we don't care how light you are. We don't care how green your ass is. I mean, green-eyed, we don't care. You black. Get your ass.
Get over there.
Get over there. The
Mm-hmm.
Spanish kind of included and made this whole little spectrum of a wheat chart and gave more benefits to the lighter complected. The more you mix breed with them, the more benefits you got with them. And it's real, like, it's heartening to a certain degree, not frustrating because you understand it once you hear. But when you see a Dominican that's a shade lighter than you, to say they're not black or don't have any African heritage, especially with the women, you just kind of sit down and just be like, okay. Or to be across from on a date with a woman that looks phenotypically black, but she says, oh, I'm not black. You know, I'm this, I'm that. I just be like, okay. You know, because I'm not going to put no pressure or anything like that, you know, because
exactly.
You know, and it's weird because it's just like, okay, so you're dating me. Like, I'm considered to be somewhat Dominican or Dominican of Haitian descent or something. But I'm seeing her like, motherfucker, I don't look Dominican. You know what I'm saying? Like, motherfucker, I'm black American.
Right.
Proud to be black. Like, we're the most proud black people on the planet.
Hands
down.
Absolutely.
Outside of maybe some Africa shit. But if you're looking for any type of political movement in the Caribbean or in South America, it ain't happening.
Nah.
They did their colonization.
They diced it up too much.
Yeah, they made it so well that there's not going to be any type of black movement whatsoever in South America. Forget about it. Because
it just can't work.
Just like the Spanish did this right here, which was so smooth and so intelligent that they did this, because you get a just average black American family, and you tell your uncle, hey, you go over here, you go over here, little niece, you go over there, you go over here, y'all all different. And we were looking at each other like, what you mean? Like, that's my dad, that's my uncle, that's my cousin. That's what the Spanish did.
Yeah.
But so they're very segmented here. Now, as a black person in DR, you can have the best time in the world. You can date all the beautiful light-skinned women you want. Same thing in Colombia. It doesn't really affect you as a black American because your citizenship and your nationality trumps damn near 80% of the issues you will have. And that's just what it is. Now, outside of maybe Brazil, they just on some other shit. But in my experience in Colombia, in the DR, in the Caribbean, it's just like, oh, he black American. Attitude changes right away. So they'll look at me and they'll be like, is he Haitian or, oh, he's black American. Hey, hola, you know, it's that type of shit.
Right.
It's something that, like, when I'm talking to my Dominican girlfriend, it's something for me that I'll be like, I can't wait till she get to America. I ain't gonna say nothing to bust her bubble or nothing. I just can't wait till she get to America. And she thinks she's white with that.
I know black.
With that nappy ass afro she got. You know what I'm saying? I'm just seeing her like, I can't wait to get your ass to America. Like, I ain't gonna say nothing. I'm not gonna say nothing. I'm just gonna let it happen to you, and because you will break a Dominican's fucking heart if they find out they black in the DR.
Yes,
they got to go to America. And then they got to experience and they got to say, oh, okay, so I'm not really white. Okay, I'm still Dominican, but I'm pretty much black around these motherfucking white folk. Yeah, bro, you black. You know,
you got to experience. They got to experience it. They're never gonna get it from you talking to them.
Exactly.
They got to be in that environment and see that, you know, they're not going to be treated any different.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. The Spanish, the way they finessed it was expert, and Portuguese probably took it even further. So to me, the most color conscious nation on fucking planet Earth is Brazil. And I will argue anybody about that. You know what I'm saying? We could go back and forth on it. But it is very apparent. And the craziest part is because
even most of the black women in Brazil want black dudes, to be honest with you, bro. Whether you black American or not, from my experience, because when I was out there, I was hooked up with a sister at first, and she was kind of crazy. But I noticed my pool game was all white and Brazilian Japanese.
They don't talk about this stuff.
I don't get any black women in Brazil at all. Unless she's light skinned with curly hair. I get the red bones, but I'm not getting no just chick my complexion.
Sister, you ain't just getting no straight sister, huh? No. Yeah. Because
you might because you're American.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're American, depending on what her mentality is, you know, you might. But from my experience, it'd be the white Brazilian women that's interested in you.
Yeah, and it's funny too, because, you know, you're saying it, I'm saying it. Austin did a video where he was talking about it, where he was in Sao Paulo, and he said, the Afro-Brazilians weren't really giving him the same type of treatment. And, you know, people will push back against the narrative. And I'm not telling people where to go. I'll never tell you where to go, but I'm just saying, if we're going to have these conversations and be adults about it, especially when certain people are talking about, you know, actually living in these places, not just going for a quick vacation and having some fun and going home, that's one thing. But when you're actually going to be around these people and you got to deal with their social setup, whether you like it or not, even being an American, unless you just completely stay in a bubble and never leave that, you are going to be exposed to this kind of stuff. And it's worth exposing it and putting it out there.
So you would say that somebody of Skylar's complexion would have a different experience than somebody like a darker brother like me would be in Brazil.
In Brazil,
yeah.
In Brazil, oh my God, all day long. I think even he would admit it if he was, you know, being, you know, just keeping it 100. I think he would admit it. And that's not me saying that brothers cannot do well in Brazil. I've never said that. But what I'm saying is that there is a nuance to that conversation that is different from the States, and it's different from many other parts of even Latin America. Brazil is the most colorist place that I've been to. Now, the vibes in Brazil, very, you know, very unique, you know, the music, the food and stuff. There's definitely some very good things about Brazilian culture and Brazilian vibe, but then there's the dark stuff that nobody wants to talk about. So I feel like you have to show both sides of that, and then, you know, people can make their own decisions.
Okay. And shout out to Skylar. He's in the chat, but he says he's at a restaurant, so he can't pull up right now.
Okay. Yeah, he said don't. He said don't come to Brazil. I've been to Brazil. So what do you mean?
I lived in Brazil for like 9 months, man. I tell you, my experience was much better in the favela than it was like just hanging around the uppity Brazilians like that. Now, I didn't have any issues. I mean, I'd be in Juca, I'd be in the malls, no problems. Everybody was cool, cordial. Like I say, most of the time, I was actually interacting with the whiter Brazilians. They were all cool. But I felt more at home when I hung out with my man Hobson. Shout out to Hobson. He's in the Facebook group. You guys want a real experience in Brazil, you definitely can holler at him. He's on the app as well as a tour guide. But when I started hanging with Hobson, I feel like I got more of that real Brazilian. Like I felt more like, okay, these are my people. I'm chilling.
Yeah.
I'm not one of them dudes. I'm not one of them. I gotta go to the hood dudes at all. I'm bougie. You know what I'm saying? But it was just the fact that they were all just chilling, cooling. Like they wanted me to learn Portuguese. They were teaching me Portuguese and stuff. They wanted me to move in the building. They were just, you know, they was just more welcoming, if that was said.
Yeah, they're very warm people in general, Brazilians. And when you get to the more down to earth ones, not the uppity, you know, types, then you're gonna experience more of that.
I almost got into it in Claro, man, because a white Brazilian jumped me in line. I didn't know how to deal with that. You know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, it's certain things that I have that I know I should pull back. I'm not an American, you know, and I don't speak the native language, but it's just those social triggers that you have.
Yeah, because you know,
we from Black America, we from Atlanta, so we don't.
It's a switch.
It's a switch. It's just like I gently got right in front of them. Like I said, Black Americans are the most buckest motherfuckers. I'm not saying that's about us to brag like other Black people around the world.
Yeah, it's how we grew up. We didn't have a choice.
When I was in Doha and I saw the Blacks in Doha, like in the airport, like it's like their demeanor was almost like a slave. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's like it's like that.
Just keep your head down, boss.
It's that type shit. You know, and I'm looking at the little white Arabs and shit moving around. I'm just chest out, like looking around, like, man, fuck that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
it doesn't sit right with your soul when you know the history. You know what I'm saying, of what we came through, and we don't gotta live like that no more.
Somebody said I was listening to man Jay Cloud. All right, let's continue with the video, man. We in the chat heavy, man. We got almost 300 people in the room. Shout out to everybody in the room, man. Hit that like button for your boy. All right, so we talked about a little bit of tribalism. So you said that did exist.
I said, I mean, tribalism exists in Africa. No place is perfect. You got your tribalism in Africa, and then in Brazil, you have extreme colorism and you have extreme racism. And, you know, things can get violent very fast in Brazil. I mean, you could type into YouTube right now, robbery in Brazil. There's so many, you know, security cam footage every other day, people getting shot, robbed, et cetera, et cetera. So That tribalism thing is not a danger to me. I'm never, as a Black American, going to be attacked because they think I'm from a different tribe. That's just not going to happen. Whereas my skin color, me being too dark in the wrong neighborhood, I know stories of Black
Brazil,
Americans, Black Canadians who they went to the wrong neighborhood in Salvador, which was, extra ritzy. And next thing they know, they got a knee in their back and a gun, in the back of their head from a police officer. Like, what are you doing around here? And they're speaking to them in Portuguese because they think you're from there. They think you're supposed to know your place, boy. Get back to the favela, boy. That's the mentality that could, it could kill you. It could kill me. Anybody who's not on that super light skin side of the spectrum or, straight up white, because then they know, there'll be consequences. They can't act crazy with them. But Brazil is one of those places. I'm in man, but Brazil is one of those places where, first of all, I know of a very popular YouTuber that was talking about Brazil. He never shared the story of what happened to him, but the police pulled him over, put the gun on him, all that, right?
Yeah. And I also know in Barra da Tijuca, like they have when you go through the little tunnel and the bridge and all that shit, they be waiting at in certain times of the day and at night in the evening. It's almost like it's a sundown town or some shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Like, to stop the favela dudes from even because
don't even think about it.
Yeah,
don't even think about
it at night, and you just see like maybe just a quarter mile away the favela right there. So you see that populace of the favela being kind of stopped right here. Now I will say, when they see, because I didn't have no issues when they saw me, they knew for a fact I was American. But at the time I was a little overweight too, and I'm wearing American clothes. That's why in Brazil I stay away from even wearing jerseys. This is going to sound crazy to y'all, but I don't necessarily try to look like a local when I'm in Brazil. I try to look like a local when I'm in Colombia.
Sure.
Stuff like that. But in Brazil, I'm looking as American as possible.
Right.
I know how
that's gonna protect you.
I know
the fact that you're like screaming that I'm American, I'm not from here. Like the fact that you have to do that shows you how messed up the situation is.
Oh yeah. I mean, one time my friend Obi kind of told me, he was just like, the Brazilian cops don't really be like, they're not as bad. In his eyes, he said they're not as bad as the American cops because the American cops be killing y'all. He was like, we don't really have that.
Nah, I will debate that one, man. You could Google it. There were all these, like when the George Floyd situation happened, all of a sudden, all these cases from Brazil that were like almost exact mirrors of that, popped up from all over the country in Brazil. I mean, it's still out there. All you got to do is Google it. But yeah, black dudes who look like me and you get shot in Brazil every single day. And the thing is, in the States, when it happens, we broadcast it across the nation. When it happens in Brazil, they sweep it under the rug. You know what I'm saying? Because
now I will say, I don't know if you remember this story of a African dude. I think he might have been from Senegal.
Okay. That one. I remember that one in real.
Yeah. It was actually in Barra da Tijuca. It was like an area that I was in.
Exactly.
He wanted to get his money, and they basically killed him for trying to get his. I guess he was trying to get his money from him, and they basically jumped him and beat him to death, basically.
Right.
But those weren't even traditionally white Brazilians. Those were more like guys your complexion. Yeah. It was like there was like the I don't know what you call those guys, but
I don't know either. I don't know. They got too many words.
They like black, but they not black, or they're not white, but they're not white. I don't know where they are, but
sure, somewhere in the middle.
I remember when Brazil, and I got it on footage too. I remember when I was like in this Blanco party, and this Brazilian that could go for, I guess, dark-skinned Latino, he called me a nigga. You know what I'm saying? And I was just like,
in English? He said it in English.
Yeah, in English.
Okay,
you know
wow.
And I was just like, he ended up being cool, but I'm just like, that's you ain't black enough to use that word. That's in my head. I'm just saying like,
right.
I probably slap the shit out of you in America for saying that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it ain't sit well with you.
Even when Dominican women say it like that, like some of them say the ER, and I just be like, you saying it wrong. Like I don't like when you say it like that. Like you saying it like you just shot me when she was like, you're a nigger. I'm just like, okay. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I can't wait till your ass get to America. I can't wait till you get to America, baby.
Get that wake up call, man.
Right. All right. So we got one more chapter, but before we get to the last one, which is the lack of food, I do want to pull up real quick the HIV statistics, stats.
Okay.
So let's pull this up. Hold on. And we'll get back to my man Scott's video in a minute, and then we'll set up your video. All right. So I don't know if you guys can see this. I know it's like really low, but countries with the highest HIV prevalence, and they're all pretty much in Africa. United States is at the very bottom with 1.3 million living today. But you have Swaziland. That's like right by South Africa, right?
Yeah, it's actually it's basically part of South Africa. Yeah, it's that same area.
Okay, so they're saying almost
So
38%. 38%.
Yeah, the rate is the same in like 4 countries because they're neighboring countries.
So the colonizers pretty much just drew lines in the same look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's the same area. It's all the same area, really.
Okay, so you got Swaziland at number 1 in the world, basically. Is that Lesotho?
Yeah, Lesotho. I've been to these places too. Just for the record, I've been to these places. I'm good. I didn't get anything. So yeah, I know. I mean, I'm just saying because people might use that as like a scare tactic or whatever. But if you're doing your due diligence, it's not even an issue. And like I said, right over the counter, you can get a saliva test. You don't need a needle. You don't need any of that. You can spit in this thing. I mean, I'm sorry, you don't spit. You like wipe your tongue or whatever. And I think it takes 5 to 10 minutes, and then it'll tell you whether they have it or not. So, I mean, if you can't wait 5 to 10 minutes, then I don't know what to tell you.
Okay. We got Botswana with almost just as high as Swaziland. That's 37%. Okay. You got Mozambique, Zimbabwe, Namibia, Zambia. Is that Malawi?
Yeah, that's Malawi. Yeah.
You got Uganda, which is actually pretty low. And I don't even see Kenya anywhere on this.
Yeah, list. I told you it changes. Once you get past the southern part of Africa, it pretty much disappears. And once you get further north, like Nigeria and Senegal or Ethiopia, they pretty much don't have any HIV. I mean, compared to
matter of fact, they got Uganda right underneath the United States. I mean, right before the United States. So they got United States underneath Uganda.
Yeah. So like you're talking about 54 countries in Africa to act like, AIDS is this huge thing that I'm not going to Africa because of AIDS. You're being disingenuous because it's only really a factor in like 9 countries, 8 or 9 countries. You still got another, 45 countries where the AIDS rate is the same as it is in Brazil or in the States. So that's a very weak argument too. Okay. And I mean, and Skylar, for the record, Skylar did not even mention AIDS, but I just wanted to throw that out there if somebody used that as an argument.
Okay, so speaking of the states, pretty much, you got Washington, D.C. that's pretty up there. It's 31 per 100,000. So
that's a high amount. That's crazy though. Still,
31 per 100,000. That's.
I mean,
small,
for the states, states,
and that's the number one. That's the number one state or area. So Washington, D.C. You got Georgia. Of course, we know Georgia. 23 per 100,000. That's
it's better. It's not what it was 15, 20 years ago. So
right, and then you gotta understand that. I mean, I codify this for YouTube. That
certain demographics, certain
demographics
are going to deal with it more, way more than other people. So for the average guy like us, who's not doing any other alternative thing, you're not really going to have an issue.
You better than me. Okay, yeah, perfect. You said that better not good, man. All right. And you got Mississippi on here, 15. So relatively low numbers in America for the most part.
Sure.
Yeah. Relatively low. All right. So let's move on. Hold on. And guys, we appreciate you joining us, man. This has been a great. We always do great shows, man. My man JayFocused always do great shows, man. All right. So I know you want to touch up on this because I'm big on this as well. I would say myself really a foodie, but one of my favorite things to do in these countries is get a traditional dish. And I have to say that so far, and I have not been to the continent yet, but so far from my personal experience, I got sick the first time I ate African food in Atlanta from an African restaurant.
What did you have? Nigerian or what? What was it?
I don't know where they were from. He told me where they were from. I think it was Nigeria. Yeah, I think it was Nigerian food.
Okay.
I got sick. And when I was at in Thailand, I ate some food again from Nigeria. It was terrible. I just be honest.
Okay, wow. You had really bad luck then.
Yeah. So those are my experiences with African food. But let's see what Scholar has to say right after this commercial break. Shout out to Scholar, man. We give you some ad money today, brother.
Right, here we go.
am a foodie. Okay, I am a foodie and I like gourmet dishes. Now you got to ask yourself, a question. Name 3 world-renowned food dishes that come out of Africa.
Skylar might got you beat on this one, JayFocused. I agree
Well,
with you on your other. I agree with you on the other stuff now, but
so in my rebuttal, I did a response to everything he said. And I mentioned, I said, on the food, I think it's even. I would never, sit here and say African food is just the best in the world, is killing all food. We got to be specific, because what they eat in West Africa isn't what they eat in South Africa. What they eat in South Africa isn't what they eat in East Africa. What they eat in East Africa isn't what they eat in North Africa. It's very, it really depends on the region.
They said jollof.
I was going to say, I was about to say jollof.
Okay,
I was going to say jollof is well known all over the world. So if West African food isn't good, then why do you see it popping up in so many places, right? Because it can't just be for their communities. It has to be, there has to be a bigger customer base than just the diaspora in these places. Like you said, you were in Thailand, right? There's not that many Nigerians in Thailand to support a Nigerian restaurant, right? So that means other people have to enjoy the food too. So you could consider it an international cuisine. I can go to Rwanda. I can find Nigerian food so many places. I mean, like 7 or 8. I can go to Johannesburg, and there's like 8 Nigerian restaurants. I did a video on my channel. I'm in Joburg and I'm eating Nigerian food. I got so many hating comments underneath.
So hold on, is Nigerian food good? Is it good?
Yeah, I enjoy it. Yeah, I enjoy it, man. And I didn't grow up on it, because certain people in the States, they grew up, maybe they were in DC or somewhere where Nigerians were everywhere, but I didn't grow up like that. I didn't grow up around any Africans. So I didn't try African food until my adulthood. I remember the first time I was in the Bay Area and I went to a Senegalese restaurant. I didn't know anything about Africa. I didn't know what we were eating. I didn't know if it was West, North, South. I just know it was African food. And I was like, yo, this is fire. I was like, I didn't know West African food was this good. And then after that, I was like, well, let me try some Nigerian. Let me try some Ghana. Let me try this and that. And I mainly spent time on the continent, more in the East, in Southern Africa. And their food is okay. I mean, no disrespect to y'all. Y'all food is cool. I can have it here and there, but it's not something that I crave. You know what I'm saying? If I leave East Africa, I'm not craving East African food. If I leave Southern Africa, I'm not craving Southern African food. But when I leave West Africa, or when I'm just traveling anywhere in the world, I do look out for, like, where is a West African restaurant, because I know it's usually going to be pretty good. It's usually going to be fire. And the same with Caribbean food. I love my Caribbean food too. I love, he mentioned in the video, I think his favorite food is like Japanese, he said, and like Creole food or something like that. And all of that stuff is good too. But I will say, if you want to compare Brazilian food to like the average in Africa, I'd say both of them are okay. Neither one of them is like, oh my God, when I go to China, when I go to Japan, I just am looking for a Brazilian restaurant. That doesn't happen. And the same thing when I'm all over the world. I'm not just looking for an East African restaurant. If I see one, maybe I would eat it, but it's not something I would go out of my way for. So that being said, I would say both places have pretty much equal food. Like, it's cool, but it's not amazing, except West African food. Now that food is amazing.
Okay. I want to give a shout to Nick T. He's in the comment section. He said, name 3 dishes that come out of anywhere. Y'all can't name that many dishes from Asia. Actually, I can. I love Thai food. All right.
Yeah, same. I can talk about
tom yum. What is it?
Yeah.
Pad Thai, tom yum, papaya salad. I mean, you got so much stuff in Thailand that's good. I mean,
you got the pineapple rice. You got the
pineapple rice, the mango sticky rice. Yeah.
It's a lot of good stuff. Right.
Thailand has the best food by far.
Yeah, you get the fresh lobster. I mean, it's hard to go wrong in Thailand with food, man.
Like, Thailand's the only country that I've been in that can compete with American food. Straight up.
Yeah. Thailand, it's got to be in your top 5.
I don't know where you at from America, but I'm from Atlanta. I'm from the South. So we got to me, we got the best food. Home food.
I mean, y'all got the flavors. Y'all got the flavors. I give y'all that.
The sad part is, I don't even know if this generation of women now even throw down like they used to, because generally speaking, if I was dating in Atlanta, I could generally cook better than the women that I was dating.
Damn,
You know
that's sad.
Yeah, it is.
You got to call their mamas to come to the crib to cook. That's sad, man.
I mean, they just don't put the effort. I mean, you know, the women of yesteryear, you know, our grandmamas and aunties, those women are gone.
Yeah,
like, you got Uber Eats now. I remember last time I was in America, and I ordered some food for this chick. You know, even though she can cook, she can throw down because she's Puerto Rican. But
okay,
I mean, we ordered Uber Eats, and that joint was like $100, bro.
God,
$100 for some bullshit crabs and some bowl, like something that took $20 to buy in the grocery store.
Sure, and they just taxing,
bro.
Wow.
Taxing. You know, like I hate Cash App and Uber Eats, man. Cash App is convenient. Uber Eats is super convenient. But when you're in a relationship, those are two apps that you're gonna hate as a man, because these new age women,
it raised the expectations. That's the problem.
It should be like, you know, can you Cash App me this, or I can order this real quick. You can order this. I gotta come to your house and cook. We can just order Uber Eats. I hate that shit.
Yeah.
Somebody said I like a Brazilian food. Brazilian food is way too salty for me, man. What you think about that?
It's cool. I like it. Like, I wouldn't say Brazilian
it's too salty.
I wouldn't say it's trash or anything like that.
No,
it's cool.
I said salty. That shit's salty as hell. It's salty as hell. All they meat. You be
all
like,
times that I have Brazilian food.
Like, dude,
you know what I'm saying? If I'm there, yeah, I mean, I eat it, but it's not like anything that I miss when I leave the place. So for me, it's average. But yeah, okay. I can keep getting it like salty in a buffet or some shit, the rodizio or whatever. But yeah, the meats, when they be doing the meats and stuff, yeah, it'd be extra salty.
Jamaican food is the best. It's my favorite.
Right.
Favorite
I said that. I said Caribbean and West African food is just it, man. That's what we were made to eat, I think, as Black people. You know, over the centuries, they developed cuisine that's made for our genetics. And it's just something about that food. It just gives you comfort. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, well then what's the dishes in West Africa then? That's interesting. Since most of us are supposedly from West Africa. What's the
everything they got is good. Like, I mean, they got the jollof with chicken, with turkey. They eat goat like Jamaicans do. Like all this stuff, the seasonings and stuff is just fire. Like, they put spice on it. Man, like they use a lot of sauces. So they use a lot of like tomatoes and peppers and stuff like that. So it's never like a boring, bland kind of a taste. It's similar to Caribbean food. They eat the plantains.
They got oxtails, macaroni and cheese.
Oxtails, the sweet plantains, all that good stuff, man. They got yams, they got collard greens, all that stuff, man. Like, that comes from West Africa. Yeah, man.
Good, but it's not like, I'm sorry, like, it ain't nothing in comparison to like Jamaican food and Black American food. Like, we got that shit hands down, bro. I'm sorry.
For sure. Yeah, man. One of these days you gotta go to like a real West African restaurant. I mean, you probably can't find one out in the Caribbean, but pretty much any decent sized city outside of the Caribbean, you'll be able to find it somewhere. So yeah, man, just keep your eye out next time. That's crazy that you had two bad experiences back to back with West African food. For me, it was like that with Indian food. Like, every time I had Indian food, I got sick and it wasn't good. And people be telling me it's bomb, but like, to me,
I love Indian food.
I always got sick from it. You know what I'm saying? Like, the flavors were good, but like, it just didn't sit with me right.
I love that Indian food, man. I actually had dishes from I was dating a girl from Afghanistan, and their food is pretty good too. Yeah. It was man. If their parents would have found out, they probably would have did away with her. But
this is in the States or somewhere else?
This is in the States.
Yeah. Her parents were not with it. I know that much already.
No, not at all. It was definitely a hidden relationship. Actually, I dated a lot of Middle Eastern women back in Atlanta, believe it or not. For some odd reason, I was like,
in university, or this was after that?
This was during university, in my early 20s. I actually took her virginity. Actually, it was so funny, man, because like,
you got plenty of stories out here.
Nah, not like that. But it's just funny to me because I remember like taking her places, taking to little gas stations, and the Middle Eastern dudes would like have a fit. They would have a fit. So I started staying in the car. And then one time she was in the gas station for so long. I'm like, what's she in the gas station so long for? And I'm looking out. I'm like, where's she at? I'm looking around. And then all of a sudden she comes from behind the counter. And she just like had this look on her face. And she was like this. We got in the car. I'm like, what happened? And she was just like, oh, he put out a whole bunch of money and told me he wanted to marry me. Like he put out like
What?
$200,000. I was just like, is that how they do out there? She was like, yeah, that's pretty much my culture. They just, you know, like, here, this is the amount of money I give you to marry me type shit. I'm like,
That's
damn.
wild.
I'm sitting in a 1996 Lumina with a different color hood.
And this dude put out a stack and said, yo, you trying to let me upgrade you. That's what he said, huh?
I told her, I said, hey, shit, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm 23 years old. I ain't messing with that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was just a situation where, you know, I think what it is when women come over because they left because of the war, her mama, it was a whole storyline. But when they get to America and they in these, like, they learn English, they start listening to our music and stuff, and they get a little more freedom. They start going to our schools. They hear what their family be saying to them, but they're gonna be women. They're gonna be like, yeah, okay,
absolutely, yeah. And
I never date a black guy. No way, no how. But you're in school with him,
bro. I had so many situations like that where, you know, I would be out with a girl. You know, I'm 21, she 20 or whatever, and same thing. She came to the States when she's like 15 or something, and she said, you know, my brothers and my dad told me never be with a black dude, and then look who she's with. You know what I'm saying? So I think sometimes when they forbid it, it just makes it that more enticing to them. It's like, well, why did he say I can't do it? And he never explained it. So they got to find out now. You know what I'm saying?
Women, especially young women, they are like, it's like giving a child a firecracker and keep telling that child, don't like that firecracker. Like, giving, you know what I'm saying? Don't like that firecracker.
Yeah,
tell me do not like that firecracker. No matter what you do, don't like that firecracker. And the child is like, I wasn't even gonna like the firecracker, but you keep telling me
now, and
I read this book. It was I don't know why I read it. I guess I was bored one day. It was a book that a white man wrote on how to raise your daughter not to sleep with black men, not to mess with black men.
Goodness. Wow, that's crazy.
One of the things in the book was do not in any circumstances tell your daughter not to sleep with a black man because
that's exactly what they'll do.
Right.
Yeah.
So like you gotta demonize them. You gotta say this about them. You gotta say that they're, you know, they'll do this, they'll do that. You know, and they do that in the media to this day, really, when you think about it, when it comes to black men. They you know,
right.
And the key is they have people that look like us that do it to us. Right. So you'll have a Oprah or something that's kind of like throwing shade, because it's all about throwing shade and shaming when it comes to
yes.
If you shame,
you can't come straight out and say it, but you gotta do it passively. It's gotta be a passive aggressive thing. Yeah.
Right.
You gotta sneak this. You gotta sneak this, black man. That's how you get away with it.
Right. The best way is pretty much isolation. That's the reason they do sundown towns in America. They like
exactly. Yeah, it's proximity.
Yeah, they be wanting you up out of there. You know. BMT, the only black dude I know from Atlanta who didn't date black chicks, and that's not true, man. I did it. All right, shout out to my man.
They got jokes, man.
Wonderful travels with the 5 super chases. BMT, what you know about beautiful off Cascade? I don't know anything about that off Cascade. Shout out to Cascade. I just live off Cascade, but wonderful travels. I don't know anything about that, bro. You got to elaborate a little bit more.
Okay. You from your city or what?
Yeah, Cascade is like a street I used to live on, man. It's a real popular street with all the rappers, and Cascade got $1 million houses on one side, and you can route it to like the hood to the other side. It's one of them type of streets.
Gotcha.
The BMT Umar is going to get you. Nah, man. He said nothing about
bunny hop. You was bunny hopping back in the day, huh?
You think Middle Eastern women bunny hopping?
What do you call it? I think he calls it desert bunny hopping or some shit like that. He got another term for the Middle Easterns. He calls it salsa hopping with the Latina bunnies. He got words for everyone that ain't black.
Man, they all black in my eyes.
Yeah, I think they. Yeah, let me stop. Let me chill.
Oh, the restaurant. I might have went there. They might have changed the name, but I rented most of the restaurants on Cascade. He said, BMT, what's the name of that book? Man, I've read so many books. I was an avid reader. You know, I consider myself to be somewhat of a nerd. So I don't know the name of that book, man. I do not know the name of that book, bro. I could not tell you. I had all my books, and I still got all my books in the storage. I had like a damn near library of books, man. All right. I said, Umar calls it desert hopping. Okay, there
we go. Desert.
Okay. I mean, well, you know, technically the Middle East is Africa. It's on the African tectonic plate. See, that's my nerd right there coming out. So
there you go, man.
It is
Morocco, Africa. Tunisia, Egypt. That's still Africa.
Actually, if you really look at the trail of Black Americans, if you believe in the Hebrew Israelite, I know some of you do, some of you don't. but those were our lands in the Middle East, right?
Mhm.
If people, I'm not going deep. Please don't go in the chat talking about the Hebrew Israelite shit. I'm just saying, technically
You know they
speaking,
will. You know they
technically
will.
speaking, we were from the Middle East originally. Technically speaking.
Yeah. Mhm.
Hold on, what's it? Somebody said, "Oh my God, okay." But yeah, so let's get to your video, man. Now in your video, did you pretty much reiterate some of the things that you said here in the chat? Or
Yeah, I mean, some of it I didn't reiterate everything the same. You know, I went in length. You know, I think it's 25 minutes where I really broke down every single point one by one.
Mhm. And I mean,
Um,
this is a great video, man, because it's like you real experienced about Africa, bro. You probably one of the most experienced cats I know about Africa.
yeah, man, and it's funny because I was never raised with that. Like I was never a kid in one of those, you know, super. I hate to use the word pro-black. It's a weird word because nobody else says they're pro-Indian or pro-Hispanic. It's just a weird term. I wish I had something else, but I wasn't raised in a quote unquote pro-black household. Like, of course, we had pride, but it was not like, you know, we were not wearing dashikis and, you know, no one was telling me you're going to go back to Africa someday, son. Like, it wasn't like that. You know what I'm saying? So the fact that I got my first taste of Africa in 2016, that was the first time I went to Ethiopia. It was just a short trip. And from there, I was hooked. You know, at that point, I was like, I need to see more. I didn't know I would see as much as I did. I've been to 20 countries, but I know I couldn't just only see Ethiopia. I said, let me go back and see like two more. And then that's how it just started. And then I had the idea a little over a year ago that I was like, well, what if I did one whole year on the continent? You know what I'm saying? Because if you're coming from the States, if you're coming from most places, Africa's far away. So I said, instead of going back and forth while I'm there, let me just be there and kind of see what that looks like. And it was a wild ride, man. I'm probably going to put out a book because I still have videos I haven't shown. I haven't even shown all of the countries I've been to. I think I have like 15 countries on my channel with many, many videos for pretty much any country you're interested in. You're going to be able to find a playlist of Namibia, of South Africa, of, you know, Botswana, of so many different African countries. Ethiopia, I got like 8 videos on Ethiopia, and I got more. You know, there's so much, man. It was just too much that I couldn't even experience it all and then film it all and edit it all at the same time. I had to, you know, stick and move. So there's plenty more to come, and not only Africa, the whole world. But go ahead.
No, would you say that your experience, just in general, as a black man, has been better in the continent of Africa or South America?
That's a deep question because you got so many different countries, you know, and my experience in certain countries is more positive and, you know, less positive, of course, right?
But you speak
But
Spanish, Portuguese, right?
yeah, I speak Spanish, Portuguese, a little bit of French, and they all came in useful on the continent. You know, I didn't know any French.
So you can really give a genuine, like you really.
Yeah, for sure, man. I was 10 toes down. Like I didn't know any French until I got to Africa. And I didn't realize how many countries in Africa spoke French. And I was like, you know, I need to kind of step it up on my lessons.
That's kind of
mainly
bad, actually.
Yeah, man. The colonization, man. But it's kind of like everything. Like there's a good side and a bad side to it. It's mainly bad, but the good side is that you kind of have a lingua franca, which just basically means a common language, you know, that connects a lot of countries. Because if they all had, you know, there's 54 countries in Africa. If all 54 had a different language in today's era, like that would be, it would just be so challenging, you know, to communicate.
I see what you're saying now. So because that's not really, I guess you could say that's somewhat of a benefit of colonization because it was.
It's like me and you, we're speaking English right now. And if me and you go to Thailand, we're not going to speak Thai. We're going to speak English. That's what I'm trying to say. It's just, you know, it kind of is what it is. You know, it's the one kind of semi benefit.
So it's like if I'm in Georgia and you're in Florida, we both speak different languages. It's like nothing can really, you can't communicate.
Yeah, it's just gonna be more complex and it's just harder to get things done.
All right. So,
but yeah, just going to I'm just gonna try to answer the question real quick. Yeah. But overall, I started in Latin America when I was younger, right? Mm-hmm. So being older, I have a different perspective now. You know what I'm saying? Like more mature of how I experience things. So because there are a little bit more challenges in Africa, certain places, right? I would say that overall, I enjoy my time more in Africa these days. But like I said, you got to kind of walk before you can run. So I wouldn't advise everybody and their mama when they're 21 to like just go straight to Africa. Some people can handle that. Some people can't. You feel me? But I think most people need that kind of buffer in between. So it kind of makes sense to get your feet wet in places closer to the States.
Okay. Let's get to it, man. Like, I mean, you was respectful about your video. You didn't really throw no shots at Scholar.
Nah, man, there's no need to.
Yeah, you made your response.
It ain't nothing serious, man. This is, it's just opinions. At the end of the day, I just had to clarify some things that were just not factual. That's all it was. It's no bad blood.
Okay, cool. Let me because you start off with the heat, brother. I ain't gonna lie now, but let's get to it, man.
That too. But when it comes to Africa, he's a toddler. This guy, he hasn't even walked yet. He's crawling. I am 100% against convincing anybody to go to Africa or anywhere else.
Focus, man.
Yeah, it's just a little intro. It's like 15 seconds, maybe less. Today, I'm doing a reaction video to Skylar's rant on Africa. So I don't usually do reaction videos, but this one just caught my attention. If you guys don't know my background, JayFocused, I'm the most well-traveled brother in the Black male YouTube space.
Facts. Represent, brother. Represent.
And I say that not disrespectfully towards anyone. It's just a fact. I've been to more places than any of these brothers. So when I give you my perspective, it is very well informed. I've been to over 80 countries, all regions of the world, you name it. So I'm coming at you with that background. Mm-hmm. Now, the brother Skylar, he's entitled to his opinion. He has his perspective, but I want to break down some things that weren't quite accurate and is going to give you a whole nother perspective on what he's saying. That's his truth. I'm giving you guys a broader truth, and I'm going to rebut some of the points and things that he said. Okay, so my brother Skylar came out swinging. He said that no one pulls baddies in Africa. Do y'all believe that? Y'all believe nobody pulls baddies in Africa?
Now, Jay, I got to play devil's advocate a little bit.
Okay.
I just got to play devil's advocate a little bit because we already discussed this, but, since Skylar's not here, I'm going to play devil's advocate. I mean, honestly speaking, we have not seen that on YouTube. We haven't seen an abundance of baddies coming out of Africa like that.
Okay.
In comparisons of Colombia and Brazil.
Yeah.
You got the walking videos with the 10 girls on the thumbnail, millions of views is there. So I mean, come on, be honest with the chat, bro. Are you capping a little bit here or what?
No. I'm not running away from this. I will take this question 100 times on. Mm-hmm. You guys have seen Austin's videos, right?
Yes.
I think most people have. So the girls he showed in Africa, y'all did not find them attractive?
I didn't see.
I'm not saying all of them, of course. Nobody's, batting 10 out of 10 every time. But I mean, he did a video on Rwanda. I think the same girl was on the thumbnail that was in the actual video. Same thing in Kenya. He showed some different girls in Kenya. I don't think he hasn't been to South Africa too. That's another thing. And he's just one example. I just used him because many people are familiar with his videos. But as I said before, you can't compare the fact that you've got 200, 300 guys doing videos from Medellin. Most of the girls they're showing are going to be, there's going to be money exchange with those girls versus guys who are on the ground and they're not paying women. They're meeting them organically. And then also the fact, like I said, a lot of girls are not trying to be out there like that. Now, I don't want to talk too much crazy stuff without being on Patreon because I will, since people want to talk about receipts, I've got certain, things that are not PG rated that I can show on my Patreon, right? It's not up yet. It'll probably be up at the end of this month, right? But a lot of times, like I said, there are girls who they don't want to put their faces out there. Now, I'm in chat groups with brothers who are really about that African life, dudes from the States. And if you've seen some of the receipts in there, it would shut up all the doubt, right? But like I said, because African women are much more likely to still live with their families, to still be somewhat conservative, they don't want to be out there like that unless she's, you know, a straight up street stroller or something like that. But a normal chick who's middle class in Brazil is kind of, or Colombia, is really not so worried about being out there. They're looking for clout. A lot of times, you know, I'm not in these conversations, but I think a lot of times when they meet brothers who are YouTubers or whatever, they're like, hey, put me on your channel. That's going to get me more customers, right? So it makes sense that you're going to see way more, you know, girls with the silicone and this and that done and BBLs on their channel because they're advertising for these girls. You understand? And I'm not knocking them for doing that. Do you? But at the same time, girls in Africa are really not living that life like that. Of course, there's some everywhere in the world, there's going to be some, but the vast majority aren't living their life like that. There's girls that, kind of like you alluded to earlier, if their families knew that they were with me, maybe it would be all bad, you know, not on some racist stuff like it would be with you, but just more of some, you know, you're letting this dude put you out there like that, you know, kind of like, think about it if it was your daughter, you feel me? And the fact that, like I said, a lot of these girls still live at home when they're 22, 23. And I think that doesn't happen as much in Latin America. A lot of times these girls are single moms at like 17, 16 in Colombia. So if this is your life and you've been living on your own, you've been raising your daughter or whatever, your son on your own, what is it to you? Your family already kind of cast you out. They know you don't have high value. I mean, I hate to really be that black and white about it, but they're not worried about being exposed or their family being embarrassed because, you know, they got their pictures on these sites where they selling, you know what, you feel me? So it's much easier to have quote unquote receipts in Latin America. And I think that should be obvious when you look at it.
So basically,
from this perspective.
So I mean, you gave us the political correct answer. So you said most of the receipts that guys are showing in South America are really pros.
A lot of them. I'm not going to say all of them. That, you know, speaking in absolutes is crazy, but I would say the majority of them, the ones that you see in the thumbnail, and you know, they got the BBL and they got a fucking serpent tattoo down their elbow. You think this girl works in, you know, you think she works in a bank? Like, come on, like, keep it 100. What do you think these girls are doing on Ipanema Beach on a Tuesday at 1 p.m.? They don't got to study. They don't have jobs. They just chilling on Copacabana, you know what I'm saying, on a Tuesday, on a Wednesday. It's not a holiday. They just there every single day, and they got their butt in the thumbnail. Like, you really think these are normal girls? And there's nothing wrong with that. If you're a grown up and she's a grown up and y'all want to do what y'all do it. But don't hold that up as a standard of normal when that is not normal. And you got guys watching channels like these in the States. They might be 16, 17 years old, and you're selling them a dream. You know what I'm saying? And we're supposed to be the young OGs. We got to keep it 100 with them because otherwise we're setting them up for failure. You know what I'm saying? So I look at it from that perspective because everybody watching this channel ain't a grown up, you know what I'm saying? Or even if they are a grown up, they're not experienced like us. So I feel like I'm not here as some moral authority. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm just saying you got to look at the full picture and keep it 100. Now, to go a little bit deeper, I think there is a little bit too much focus in the space on getting a girl who is, what's the right word? I don't want to say IG model, but a girl who is going to make the bros give me a high five. There's a little bit too much focus on that versus, is this girl serving me? Because it's anybody and their mama can get a girl who looks like an IG model if I give her $100 in Latin America. I could get a girl like that. I could book a flight as soon as we get off this live. And in 48 hours, I can have 3 of those girls in all these Latin American countries you name. I can have nothing but booties in the thumbnail. And that's not hard to do. And it's not special. Like I said, most of these girls will not give a F about me. You know what I'm saying? There will be no connection. They'll be doing their job. And, you know, you give them what you give them and they go. And like I said, there's nothing. If that's what you want to do, that's what you want to do. But don't compare that to a guy who can meet a girl organically. And this girl is going to serve him. She's going to cook for him. She's going to do X, Y, Z. She actually cares about him. And she's not looking at the clock. You feel me? She's not charging him by the hour. That's a different calculation. So don't line these two things up and compare them because they're not the same.
Covers back, brother. You're pulling some covers back now.
Hey, don't compare these two things and say they're the same because they're not. I mean, it's not a flex to pay a model $100, $80, whatever, and put her ass on a thumbnail. That's not a flex. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
If that's how you living, that's how you living. But
Okay,
it don't impress me.
We got my man Scholar pulling up, man.
Okay.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear, brother. You good to go?
How's everybody doing?
Man, I'm laughing at that thumb, that icon, brother. Well, what's good with you though?
No, man. I really like pulling up to your channel, man.
I see that.
It's funny. A lot of people ask me to come on their show. They're like, "Hey, Scholar, can you come onto my show?" and all this type of stuff. But I read your chat, and there's just so much love in the comment section from me, man. Like I see all these positive comments. I haven't read not one negative comment.
Okay.
So
I have a supportive audience.
Yeah, so shout out to the chat, man, because you guys are something special.
All right, man.
So how you doing, JayFocused? I haven't had a chance to watch your video.
Okay. I'm groovy, man.
But I'll definitely get a chance to do it. I appreciate you doing a response to the video. Obviously, when I create videos, I already knew that there were going to be a lot of people responding to it. So, if you give your expert opinion based off your experience and get paid off of it, brother, I love it. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely, man. It's no bad blood over here, man. And I came off real respectful. Like it's just certain things that we have a different point of view. But I see where you're coming from, and more power to you. I said that, throughout the video that,
I've been listening. I've been listening. I hear you, man. I know it's not no beef.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So, I guess what we can do is we can just start from what you was about to. Let's go about Africa and the women in Africa and the argument that you were saying how there's not many African brothers or guys going to Africa to produce the receipts. That's your argument. Somewhere on that line. You don't have the quantity on YouTube.
So what I said was we've probably got 100 to 1 the amount of brothers who go to Brazil versus go to Africa, any part of Africa. If we're talking about Black Americans, I don't think that is controversial.
So I would agree with you. However, I would say, to rebut that, I would say, how long has YouTube been around? YouTube has been around 14 years, 15 years. So over that time frame, there's been brothers going to Africa. And my argument is, and I've seen Austin Holloman's videos, and I'm not overly impressed. The women that he showed in the videos does not make me want to get on the plane and go to Africa.
Okay, that's fair.
I think most people will agree with that.
Yeah, that's fair. Absolutely.
I'm not saying they're ugly. I'm not saying I wouldn't sleep with them. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have my way with them on my couch. I'm just saying that I didn't say, "Oh my God, I want to get a plane ticket." But that's just me.
I don't argue with that. That's fair, because I would concede that you can get similar, not the same, but similar women in Brazil. So for you, seeing his videos, the women he had in his videos, it's not going to motivate you to move from a good situation to a, let's say, parallel situation. It would be a lateral move for you on some level, right? But I think I'm more adding nuance for the guy who's in the States. So he's not in Brazil and he's not in Africa, right? So he might not have ever even considered Africa. So that's what I'm more or less focused on when I'm making the rebuttal. It's not so much Skylar doesn't know what he's missing. That was not the point of the video. The point was, okay, this is Skylar's way. This works for him, but there are some things that he hasn't experienced, or he may not be the subject matter expert on Africa. Let me break it down for you. That was the point of the reaction.
Okay, Jay, he was talking about the in all fairness, he was talking about why are there no receipts though? Like, why are the women? What happened we seen in Africa?
Hold on, BMT. You hit it on the head, right? My point exactly was men on YouTube. These guys are on YouTube. I'm not saying that They don't have a lot of beautiful women there. But what I'm saying is the guys on YouTube aren't, they're from what I'm saying, I'm not impressed. You know
Yeah,
what I'm saying?
that's fair. That's fair.
And,
You don't have to.
yeah. And so the thing is, and the question is, and I'm not, maybe everybody's taste is different. I've seen beautiful women in Africa, right? Quite a few of them. I showed one. The concentration to me is more on the eastern side and the southern side from what from my tastes. But maybe I'm wrong, but it seems to me that the frequency of attractive women is much higher on a continent level in South America than it is in Africa. Frequency, right? So we're not saying that Africa doesn't have beautiful women. We're not saying that, but frequency. Also, one thing that we have to understand is accessibility, right? Can you get off a plane in any country in Africa and within 3 or 4 hours, you have a beautiful woman, 8, 9, and 10 in front of you, whether it's pay for play or not. Either or.
Okay, so you had to add that part, right? You had to add that part.
Well, I'm adding it because I've seen with my own eyes brothers who have come here frequently, who are very familiar with the place. They speak Portuguese, right? And 3 or 4 within 3 hours, they got a baddie, and it's not. It's nothing.
Okay, I hear you. I don't know if you're in any of the African chat groups, because in those groups we share receipts all the time. A lot of brothers who go to Africa are not necessarily YouTubers, because you're probably aware of this. You're a business guy. You've been in the creator space for a long time. Africa does not have the money, and it doesn't have the views. It doesn't have the audience that the Brazils and other Latin American countries have. So that being said, if you wanted to be a YouTube content creator and your focus is going to be primarily on women and putting out content, that is a much smaller market. And it's only now that that has even been a concept. And that's for many reasons. But as I stated, the fact is the audience is not there yet. So to expect there to be full-time content creators who are putting out women-focused stuff from Africa, and there's no audience for it, it's not equal to what you have in Latin America, Brazil specifically.
That's
also,
not what.
Let me finish. Also, Brazil has been an ex-tourism location since the 80s. I don't know if you've ever seen this. I don't want to get too far off tangent, but Arnold Schwarzenegger was in a documentary in like 1987 in Rio de Janeiro for ex-tourism, and they were showing how sexual the culture was, et cetera, et cetera. So the more or less the path in Brazil to do pay for play type situation, that road was there before brothers. Brothers didn't start showing up with receipts and going to Brazil en masse until like the early 2000s, right? I'm sure you're aware of this. So to expect the same amount of receipts, the same amount of girls who are willing to put themselves out here, the same amount of girls who are comfortable with the camera versus a more patriarchal society in Africa is not comparing apples to apples.
Okay.
I'm done.
All right. So I understand what you're saying, but I'm not even talking about female-centric content. Hey, I'm going to a supermarket in Africa. Hey, I'm going to the gym in Africa, and I'm just casually showing the local population. It doesn't have to be centered on women. If I do a video and say, hey, I'm going to the grocery store in Brazil, and I'm going to show you all the stuff I like to eat. In that video, you're going to see beautiful women naturally there. So it doesn't even have to be centric on women. You're just showing your lifestyle, and bad, beautiful women are just going to flow naturally. And I'm not seeing that in Africa.
Okay.
So you mentioning pay for play, in Arnold Schwarzenegger, that has nothing to do with the natural flow of a YouTube video.
No, it does have something to do with the culture, because I think anybody listening to this chat would agree that Brazil has a very liberal culture as far as the women. The women are allowed to be as sexually free, you could say, as men. In Brazil, it is normal to go to a club and a girl can make out with 4 different guys in the same night, and nobody in her group of girls is going to call her a slut. Where else in the world does this exist? So this shows you that they have a lower level of shame compared to anywhere else in the world. Whether we're talking about Europe, whether we're talking about anywhere, they are probably the number one when it comes to low levels of sexual shame. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but I'm saying that sets up a culture where women are going to want to be on the camera. Now, I know you're bringing it back to, I can go to the gym, I can go to wherever, and there's going to be baddies everywhere. Okay, that is your point. I don't know how much African YouTubers that you actually follow. I'm not super familiar with your own content. I've seen maybe 4 or 5 of your videos, and most of your videos that I've seen, you're indoors. So I don't know how much of what you're saying is true or not. I've been in Brazil, I've seen what's there, but I don't know, since we're specifically talking about what somebody is showing on YouTube, I don't know what you're even showing on YouTube. So I can't really argue that too much. But there's a YouTuber, what's the name of his channel? He changed the name of his channel, but I think now it's called Passport Pookie Travels. And he walks around South Africa, and you will see him in the gym rizzing up girls. You will see him in, I'm promoting his channel, but whatever. You will see him doing day-to-day things in Cape Town, and he's showing you what the normal average girl looks like. So maybe you want to check out his channel if you're really digging for receipts and what can be accomplished on YouTube in Brazil. In South Africa.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Well.
Hello? It seems like
yeah.
you froze.
No,
yeah, I'm done.
We're
done.
Here.
Yeah.
Okay. JayFocused. You got a point. But I think that scholar questions aren't technically being answered.
And what part of the question didn't I answer? He said that he didn't know any YouTubers in Africa that were showing what it looks like in the grocery store, in the supermarket. I gave him the name of a YouTuber who does that. So I don't see what I didn't answer.
Okay, but he's saying that in general, I guess the part is he's basically saying that you can go anywhere in Brazil, pull out a camera, you're gonna see beautiful women everywhere. And in Africa, there's probably not that because nobody's showing that.
So I didn't think that was the crux of this whole situation.
Skylar, are you basically saying that they're not out there in Africa like that because there's no receipts of it being on YouTube for the last 20 years? Okay, we lost Skylar. We lost him.
Okay, so what my point was, and I said in the video that I made was, I really don't need there to be a million girls that fit what I want. I just need there to be like 100. All I got time for is like 50 anyway. You feel me? So whether the next guy can do the same thing that I can do, that's really not my that's not my worry. That's not my concern.
It's a YouTuber named Passport Pookie out here.
Yeah, it's Passport Pookie Travels. Yeah, he changed the name of his channel. Yeah. It's a joke though, but yeah.
Shout to him, man.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
All right, so we wanted to do the scams part. Okay, I guess we'll move on to the scams. Sky, you want to talk about the scams?
Hey, sorry, yeah, my internet just went out. I'm good. I'm sorry, man. The last thing I heard, would you say check out Pookie Travels?
Okay.
Yeah. So now we move on to the scams.
Let's move.
You were saying, he was saying in the video that Brazil has just as many scams as Africa.
So in my video, I mentioned clearly that there's scams everywhere. Right. So you have different levels of scamming. I mentioned in my video that the scopolamine is a serious situation. I had a secret security clearance when I was in the Air Force, and we were back briefed on all things that were going on in our area and whatnot. But there you have different levels of scams. You have scams like here in Brazil. If you're on the beach and you're having a good time and you have a guy trying to sell you something, he may overcharge you for the corn that he's trying to give you, right?
Mhm.
That's a low level, right? Then you have levels where you have government officials, police officers who are going to try to shake you down and try to scam you out of money, right? Hotels, you know what I mean? So in my video, what I'm trying to say is there is a high level of scams all across Africa at the police officer level, at the government level, that people have to be aware of. And again, as I said a million times, there's scams everywhere. But to say you don't have to say if you go to Africa, you shouldn't worry about scams, I think is not true. And also,
Okay.
it depends on where in Africa you go. Some places are more prevalent than others.
Okay, I'm going to respond to that. So you're saying that, so what you said didn't make sense, right? So Africa is 54 different countries. You said you need to be more aware of scams, but you didn't say what the scam was. You said some vague things about police officers or whatever. So I've actually been in Africa for the last 14 months, right? I've been to 20 different countries. Did I ever get scammed in Africa? Yes, I had a scam happen in Airbnb in Ethiopia. And I mentioned this on my channel. So it's not like I'm selling anyone a dream. I'm not selling tours to Africa. I have nothing to gain, whether you hate Africa or you love Africa, right? So I'm just giving you the real. I've had the same kind of scams that happened to me in Ethiopia happen to me in Eastern Europe. I've had that happen to me in, I mentioned it in the video, in Serbia. I had it happen to me in Croatia. There was nothing that happened to me in Africa that scam wise that didn't happen to me in other regions of the world, whether we're talking about Latin America, whether we're talking about Europe. I mentioned a scam that happened to me yesterday. Somebody tried to take money from me and I'm not in Africa. So you're right. Scams can happen anywhere in the world. And I said that in my response, but to act like Africa, which like I said, is 54 different countries, you really have to be more specific. But the places that most brothers would visit in Africa, you're not going to deal with these scams. Whether that's, we could talk about South Africa, we could talk about Kenya, we could talk about Rwanda. These are not places where people are going for a visit and then they come home and they're leaving YouTube videos like, I got scammed by the police or this one, that one. And all those places I mentioned, and these are some of the most popular places to visit in Africa for our community. I didn't experience any scams in these places. And I didn't go to these places for a week and, oh, what, it takes some time. No, I spent months, 10 toes down in these places and there were no scams to report. And you're coming from a position of being in Djibouti, which is in the Horn of Africa, which is a terrorism hub, which is full of military bases. Of course, you're going to need to be on high alert there. This is not a typical place. How many brothers are like, yeah, man, I'm about to hop on this plane in Djibouti. I'm gonna give me some bad African chicks. I've never seen that video and nobody's ever seen that video because no one ever does that. So to act like you are an authority or that you have any extra expert knowledge about scams in Africa, it's just not reality. It would be like
I never said I was an expert, and not one time in that video. Just to
no,
be
you
clear.
didn't. You didn't, and that's why expert had to come in to clarify and debunk the things that were inaccurate or they were half truths.
So are you saying that you should not be concerned with scams? Like
Absolutely not. No, I just mentioned a scam. I just mentioned it.
So on the scale of 1 to 10, if you're going to Kenya and you've never left the country before, right?
Yes.
You've never left the United States. How concerned should you be about being scammed on a scale of 1 to 10?
On a scale of 1 to 10, if you've never left the country before, I would say
you watched the Austin Holloman video, right? And you're like, hey, I want to go back to Africa.
Yes. Okay, I would say about a 6. Okay. About a 6. Yeah.
Okay, so we got the top 10 most scamming countries in the world here, fellas. We got Nigeria coming in number 1, India number 2, number 3 you got China, number 4 you got Brazil, number 5 Pakistan, Indonesia number 6, number 7 is Venezuela, Number 8 is South Africa. All right. Number 9 is the
Okay.
Philippines. Number 10 is Romania. And
Okay, so we got 2 Latin American countries, we got 2 African countries. So like I said, it's comparable.
okay. Well, I mean, we can pretty much agree that being American in general, you would get green.
Absolutely. Any place that's developing country, you're almost rich to them. You know, you're upper middle class to them just off the fact that you showed up on your own and you have leisure time. That alone is going to make you upper middle class in any developing nation. And you're going to be exposed to a higher level of danger than you would in your own tax bracket back in the States. And that's across the board. Like I said, I mentioned Eastern Europe, all the scamming that happened to me out there. And, you know, the same thing in South America. Luckily I speak Spanish, I speak Portuguese. So I'm a little bit harder to scam than other people, but I've heard ridiculous stories about guys will get in taxis in these countries. And, you know, if they don't outright pull out a weapon on them and, you know, take them to an ATM, they'll scam them legally, well, semi-legally, you know, using the meter, using all these other, you know, tricks and techniques. So this is a universal thing. So I just think that it's unfair to act like this is a African specific thing when anywhere that's developing, you are a target if you are carrying an American passport.
Okay. All right, so we can go on to the food now. This is a more of a lighter topic. All right, you know, we got through the seriousness, man. Scholar, you said the food was pretty much trash in Africa.
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, I want to put words in your mouth. What exactly did you say?
I said when we talk about, you know, world-renowned dishes, and when I say world-renowned dishes, a hamburger, for example, that's a world-renowned dish, right? Spaghetti, right?
Crepes.
You know, crepes from Greece. That's from Greece, right? So
it's French, but whatever.
French. Okay, I'm getting it mixed up with the another
the
term.
The euro, yeah.
So yeah. So when you think about world-renowned dishes, not many come up from Africa. And that's not to say that they don't have any good food, right? I didn't say that, and I'm not saying that Black people can't cook, because we all know that Jamaican food is easily in the top 5, right?
We agree there. We agree there. We were just talking about that. I said it. I got to give respect.
Yeah, and I probably put, maybe I'm biased, but I'll probably put Creole food at number 1, right? So, and I've been to African restaurants, but Africa is not known, all over Africa in general, is not known as having great food. Not to say,
and I agree. I agree with you. I agree on this. I said,
hold on. But neither, in my opinion, neither is Brazil. Like Brazil's food is not that great either. And I mentioned that in the video too. Like outside of Churrasco barbecue, I mean, it falls off a cliff for me.
Yeah, and I said that. I said in the video, I said, you know, he has a point here. I said African food is mid, and when I say mid, I don't mean bad. I just mean it's okay. And the same you could say with Brazilian food. It's mid. It's not bad. It's okay. But no one who leaves Brazil is raving like, oh my God, where's the nearest Brazilian restaurant? That doesn't really happen. And you could say the same thing with most African food. When you leave South Africa, you're not like, oh my God, I missed the braai there. It's not going to happen. Now, the only exception I said would be West African food, because Nigerian food, you can find that in pretty much any major city, whether we're talking about Boston, we're talking about LA, whether we're talking about Paris, we're talking about London. So this food does have some traction. Jollof rice is becoming an international food. People are starting to know what that is. That being said, in general, yes, you're right. African food is not top tier. It's not something people are going to go out of their way for if they didn't grow up in that culture. And the same thing with Brazilian food.
I got a super chat here by Pariah 79 with a 5 super chat, man. I really appreciate that. It says, let's all be honest and call a spade a spade. Bros dig the exotic mixed looking Latina. In South America versus the brown, dark-skinned Africans. Let's keep it real.
Brothers did get exotic looking Latinas, so
in South America versus the brown-skinned ones in Africa.
So basically,
it really depends, man.
Is he trying to say I'm color struck?
I was trying to say that, but it really depends on the person, bro. It really depends on the person, because a lot in my experiences, from what I see brothers still rocking with the phenotypically black women, even in Latin America, even in Colombia and stuff. I still see the same shit. You know, brothers like what they like. They like curves. I think the curves are almost important than the complexion in certain cases, bro. In certain cases.
Yeah, for me, it's about the curves. Like, you know, you could paint her however you want to paint her, but
as I get older, it's more about the attitude. As I get older,
yeah, that as well. But I'm saying, just from the physical side of things, yeah, you could paint her however you want to paint her. The rest don't really matter. But the behavior, of course, that's going to be what really matters. Is she going to cater to you, et cetera, et cetera? And I feel like sometimes that is left out of these conversations, where it's all about how does she look in a photo, where a photo is just a second, man. You don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. And we all know about filters. We know about, the fake asses, the BBLs, and all the other stuff, which, some dudes are cool with that stuff. But, others, they want that organic. They want that all natural. And in Brazil, I mean, not Brazil, in Africa, the percentage of women who are going to get work done on their bodies is minuscule. We're talking about like 1%. Whereas in the Colombias, the Brazils, you've got a culture of that, and that's fine. Some people are cool with it. But
now JayFocused, real quick, I want to interrupt you, but
okay.
I remember, this is a real quick story time, man.
Yeah, go for it.
I remember being with some Colombian women, some mestizos, the white Colombian women, and we was watching the music video. I think it might have been Cardi B, WAP, or something like that. And the girls were like, they were kind of poking fun at the black women with the fake hair in the video. They was like, why they got so much fake hair? Vice versa. I was with some Afro Latinos one day in Medellin, and they were making fun of the white mestizos with the fake bodies. So it's like a friendly competition in South America, right? Like you get the benefit of mix of both worlds. Now, the thing that bothers me a little bit about Africa and the motherland is I'm like, okay, that was supposed to be our last point. We shouldn't have to be worried about the weave and nothing like that. So you might be talking about the bodies, but I do be seeing the African women with the weaves and the hella filters on their profiles from what I hear.
Real talk. That's real talk right there.
And I feel like that's one country where women should be natural. Why the women are more natural in Brazil than are in the motherland of Africa?
So I will speak to that.
Okay,
so
hold on, real quick. Jay Rash with the super chat, 10 mil. Okay. Appreciate that. The food combo is ridiculous. People talk bad about Colombia, but my wife throws down every day here in Medellin. That means you got a good wife that can cook, Jay Rash. Shout out my man Jay Rash. He's also on the app. But in my experiences, the food, at least in Medellin, is not that good. It's just in my experiences. All right, go ahead, brother.
Okay, yeah. So I was going to say, to speak to that, you're right. You're absolutely right. It is disappointing to see a good percentage of Black women on the continent wearing weaves, fake hair, et cetera, et cetera. Now, that being said, it varies a lot by country. So you can't really speak in generalities about a continent. We're talking about 54 countries. We're talking about over 1 billion people. Let that soak in. That's maybe 4 times the population of America in Africa, right? So you have countries where I'd say maybe 75% of the women wear weave. And then you have other countries where maybe it's like 5% of the women wear weave.
Shit,
so
DR is heavy here, bro.
Yeah.
I don't care how broke she is. She's going to have that weave in her head, boy.
Yeah, talk about it. So for the guys who don't like weave, which I'm not a fan of weave.
I hate it.
You got Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, you are not going to see, you would have to go out your way to find a woman who's not wearing her hair naturally. Their hair texture, it varies. Honestly, a lot of people think that all Ethiopians have like super straight hair. Some of them, they can grow to afros. Some of them have, their hair lays down more like a Moroccan chick. It really varies. There's a lot of variety within Ethiopia. So there's not just one way to that you can do it, or one look that they have. But in general, across all the skin colors that I've seen in Ethiopia, the vast majority are wearing their hair naturally. So guys who hate weave, that would be a place to start. But that being said too, you were going to say something?
No, they're saying my audio was low.
Okay.
My bad.
I was going to say, that being said too, it's a very conservative country. Now, of course, in the big city, in the capital, there is a lane for, dating and, more casual things. But in general, it's more of a serious culture. And that's another reason why you're not going to see the same kind of receipts like you would see from Ethiopian Americans in the States. Anybody who's seen an Ethiopian American in the States, most people would say that they're attractive women. I would think so, right? But that's because they're allowed to show themselves out and expose themselves. It's an IG culture. They're not judged as harshly. Whereas in the motherland, they do need to be a little bit more conservative. Typically, they'll live with their parents until they get married. So it's a different calculation, but that's where you would want to go if you're not trying to see any weaves whatsoever. Other than Ethiopia, Rwanda too, same thing. You're not going to see weaves like that here and there, but the majority keep their hair natural. And there's a lot of countries like that. I would say in general, West African women have the reputation of wearing weaves more, East less, and Southern Africa somewhere in the middle.
Okay. And Skylar, you pretty much see all the naturals in Brazil, right? You don't see that too much. I know I didn't remember seeing too much weave out there.
To be fair, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are what I've noticed, not a lot, not with the black women, but with the white women, they do hair extensions.
Oh yeah, they do that.
So you'll be see her, she's like, oh, she has short hair and then she has extensions in. So the white women here, not all, but there's some of them every now and again, like when I have them have them on their knees and I'm like rubbing through their hair. I'm like, wait a minute, this isn't right. There's something under here,
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they do the extensions out here every so often. So it's not 100%. Oh my God, they just be wanting to switch up their style so much. 1 minute they got long hair, 1 minute they got short hair. So something to think about.
It's funny, man, because in Thailand, I know like the women, you can tell because in Thailand it's a little different, right? You got some Asian women, some Thais that don't really mess with the brothers. They just want to mess with the white guys or the North Asian guys or something like that. But you can almost tell which type of guy she wants by her hairstyle. So if you see the girl with the micro braids in,
you already know. It's like back in the day, the white girls who wear the hoop earrings.
Right.
You already know what time it was.
You already know what time it is, brother.
Yeah.
All right, guys. It's been a great show, man.
I just want to throw this out there. Since you threw the shade with the African chicks with the weave, I give you that. There's way too much weave on the continent. You can't even argue that one. Mm-hmm. I will counter with the fact that the tattoo culture is out of control in South America. I'm talking about the girls with sleeves and they like 20 years old. It's like, how did you have time to get this many tattoos on your body? You've only been an adult for like 2 or 3 years and they be tatted up like they've been in a biker gang. You know what I'm saying? You see that all across Latin America far, far more often than you do in Africa. Like here and there, if you're dealing with certain pros or whatever, you'll see some tattoos, but in general, they're not getting inked up like that.
Absolutely.
What about in DR? Aaron, are you seeing tattoos all over the place on females?
No, not in San Domingo like that. Most women with tattoos are like going to be pros for the most part. You see them in Sasua or some shit like that, but
yeah, in South America though, it's big. It's major.
Yeah, I remember I was dating this Brazilian Japanese chick, man, and she was a very pretty girl, and I begged her not to get the tattoos, but now she got the whole back, she got the whole sleeve, all that stuff. It's crazy, man. So yeah, you're right about that. But in some cases, like I hate to say this, but this is gonna sound bad. I might not even should say it, but I don't like tattoos on dark skinned women.
Wow.
Yeah, no.
That was a bad thing to say, Skylar?
Yeah, man. I'm sorry. I'm offended.
Damn it.
He's leaving. He's leaving the chat, man. You went too far, man.
My bad. That's
the last straw.
I want to be able to see the detail. You know what I'm saying? If I can't see the detail, I'll be like,
absolutely.
What was the point?
Yeah, what was the point?
Yeah, so I agree with Jay.
I like beautiful, dark skin, solid. Like if I'm want a dark, if I'm in the mood, then I want to sexual chocolate. I don't want to see a bunch of tattoos I can't even see.
Yeah, so I agree with Jay 100% with the tattoos here in Rio de Janeiro. It is borderline out of control, and the crazy part is like there's no logic behind their tattoos. Like I've seen a chick that had like the Satan symbol on her chest, right? I'm like, what do you like? What were you thinking? Like literally Satan on her chest, right above her breast, right? I seen a girl that had an octopus all over her neck. Like it's weird. I honestly believe like a lot of these girls out here in Brazil at some point they're gonna regret a lot of these tattoos. Like even I'm talking to some of them now, and they're like, they're starting to see that they're not gonna get the quality of guys that they think they deserve because of those crazy tattoos.
Yeah, like this one right here. You see, I mean, look at that back tattoo. I'm like, you got
Yeah, they doing too much.
bag.
Yeah,
Like, really a little Chanel bag on your joint, shorty. Like, come on, man, that's terrible.
Yeah,
she in the Yakuza now. Like, what the?
Yeah,
I mean, she is Japanese, but
is that is that your girlfriend?
No, that's not.
Okay.
No. You know,
Yeah,
it was a good friend of mine. Let's put it to you that way.
Okay. Yeah, the tattoos is I would say there's a lot of girls with tattoos here, but it's easy to find a girl without any. You know, it just sucks though that you see so many beautiful women ruin themselves with meaningless tattoos. Like they just terrible. I'm like, wow, you're just so beautiful.
She got a Lambo on that joint, man. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you like?
Exactly.
I met this chick when she was like 19, bro. Like, she didn't have nothing. She was just clean cut, sweet as could be, and she just tore herself up. She's
damn. Yeah, it's an epidemic worldwide, but it's just something got to be done. Somebody got to get it in their head that this is not the thing. You know?
You ever see that old chick like in her 50s with a bunch of tattoos? You just be like, ugh. You know, it's like tattoos are for men, man. They're not for women, bro. Like that shit is terrible. Even me, man. Like when I see a chick with a whole sleeve, I just be like, I'm not interested. Sorry.
Yeah, she definitely losing some points off of that.
Well, in my case, I'd be like, hey, I'm only giving you half off. I want half off on this deal.
You want a discount?
I want a discount. I want 50% off.
Well, I mean, okay, so guys, in this, I don't want to say this was like maybe like a little friendly debate, but I mean, JayFocused, in your opinion, do you think, as far as average passport bros, do you think that Africa is a better fit than South America?
You asking him or me?
I'm asking
you. Want to go?
Yeah.
Scott, do I think for the average guy? No, I think the average guy doesn't have enough experience for Africa. I would not tell anybody who was 21, who's never been anywhere, to start off in Africa. I wouldn't tell myself, like a younger me, I wouldn't tell myself to go there first. Go to Latin America first, kind of get your training wheels going, have some experiences under your belt. Then you can appreciate it more. I think if you went straight to Africa and then you went to Latin America, it would be a hard transition for many different reasons. Some of the things I talked about were like cultural and whatnot, but you know, honestly, it's really going to depend on the brother. But like I said, for the average guy who's starting off, don't start off with Africa. Number one, the distance, you know what I'm saying? To get from where you're at to the time zone of, you know, let's say East Africa or South Africa is quite different. It's a longer flight most of the time. And there's just more that goes into it. But, you know, shout out to the guys living their best life in Brazil. You know, this was not a Bash Brazil session or anything like that. I just wanted to clear the air and give people my perspective on it.
Okay, good point. Scholar, you want to say anything in the closing, brother?
I think as a quote unquote passport bro or a guy who travels, I think it's okay to go to any country you want to go to first, right? Because these women do it, you know.
Good point.
They do it. They go to wherever country they want to go to. They go to, like, you know, a lot of women, their first country is Ghana. They want to go to Ghana. They want to go to the festivals there and you know, I guess they had like, I forgot what that tourism thing was, welcome people home and all that type of stuff. So they go
return or something.
Yeah,
yeah,
your return.
So I think men can go to any country they want. You know, it's just I wouldn't say unfortunate, but I think for men, they like to go places where they have some help, you know, and maybe they're, like he said earlier, Jay said earlier, there's not enough help in Africa. You know what I'm saying? Because there's not a lot of guys that are representing themselves, trying to get more people to go that is accessible compared to Thailand. There's no Zoom to Africa. You know what I'm saying?
Seems like Austin's trying to put his little foot down.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, that's.
I didn't mean to say little foot.
He's definitely helping, and I imagine there's a couple more, maybe not as big as Austin, but yeah, I guess more eyes over there would definitely encourage brothers to go.
All right. Well, shout out my man Kevin Rose with his last super chat of the night. Don Nonsense super chat. So salute to you, BMT. Always bringing the heat. Yeah, this has been a great show, man. This has been a great show. I want to thank both my guests. Shout out to my man Skylar, always pulling up. That's 2 nights in a row, 2 days in a row. Skylar pulled up on us. And
I have time.
Okay.
a little. No, I'm saying just a little time in general. You know.
All right.
You caught me at 2 good times.
There you go. And shout out to my man JayFocused for pulling up as well. I think somebody said O'Shea in the chat. So shout out to O'Shea if he's in the chat as well. All right. Great stream, guys. We out. Peace.
All right.
Peace.
Right hand.